All right, so we're going to take a walk through Google Docs. Google Docs is the Microsoft Word equivalent to the Google Education Suite. They do a pretty good job of trying to keep up with current trends, and they try and make it look and play pretty much the exact same as Microsoft Word. The benefit is you get a lot of sharing features and collaboration features, especially when you combine it with the Google Classroom that Microsoft just doesn't have. So first, how do you start a Google Doc and where does it go? Those are the two questions I get the most from people who are just starting to transition over to Google Docs. Number one, most people click the app. You can pin this to your taskbar. You can put a shortcut on your desktop. Most people open it up from here. When you open it up from here, you're going to see this front page where you can kind of pick out new documents. There's how you create a blank. These are some of the templates available. These are Word docs in your drive that you could open up at any time. And over here, it does let you open up any of the other products that are in the Google Content Creation Suite. It also lets you get to your drive. So if you hit this blank, it's going to open up a blank Google Doc. What happens though that a lot of people get confused by is they start typing on this Google Doc and then they end up closing it and they don't know where it went. So I'm going to name this, hey, I am a document you just made. Now, if you're just new to Google Docs and you don't understand how this works, with Microsoft, you often have to save and put it on a flash drive or a desktop. You have to save it somewhere. And if you were to close it, you could accidentally just close it out and you wouldn't have your work anymore. That isn't the case here with Google. Since you're in your Google Education Suite, you're signed in as yourself. If you close this, it does stay in one particular place. Now I'm going to come back to that. What's the other way to start a Google Doc? I start a Google Doc with my drive. So when I go to my drive, I start all my work using this content creation button. The reason why is so I can stay organized. So if I'm going to make something for my technologist role, and let's say I'm going to go into training stuff and I want to make my Google Doc, I make it right here. And the reason why is when I type new training document, what happens is it starts to do all the saving for me. But what most people don't realize is when this shows up, this tells you where it's at. It's in my training stuff folder, in my technologist folder, in my documents folder, in my drive. Why is that important? Once you're in your drive and you have lots of files, being organized helps you find that document again and make sure it's in the right spot so you can find it every time easily. So there's my new training document that I just made. It's in my training stuff folder, technologist, my documents, my drive. Now if you look at my drive and compare it to your drive, a lot of people have folders and are organized, but some people have hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of files that they can scroll on underneath. That original document that I closed and I called it, hey, I am a document you just made. To a lot of people, since they closed it, it's lost in the ether. They don't know where it went. Where it went is, if you don't tell it otherwise, it's going to go to your drive right below the last folder in some order. So there it is. You can go back and open it up and everything's there. So again, you can make a new document by either going to the document app, opening it here. You can make something new or open up something old. 2, you can go to your drive and pick out the folder or place that you want to build your content. There is a third way, and that is if you're on Google Docs, you can go New Document. If you do that, it's just going to open up a document, and since you have not told it otherwise, as soon as you start typing, as soon as you start saving, it's going to tell you that it's just sitting in your drive, and it's going to go right below the last folder somewhere in there. So those are the 3 ways you can start a Google Doc. The where does it go? It always goes back to your drive depending on where you told it to go. Some people have literally hundreds of untitled documents, and that's because they've closed untitled documents, didn't know where they went, and so they just kept piling up underneath. So if you're going to start becoming an avid Google Doc user, my suggestion is to get your drive organized and together and figure out what works best for you when you're starting a Google Doc.